This time, I'm going to ask you to fasten your seatbelts.
Good morning. Welcome to Views from the East. I have some special content for you guys today, of an exclusive from the archives. However, before I even get into that, I want to shout out to all my YouTube subscribers. I really appreciate the support, the comments, the feedback you guys have been giving. I really appreciate that there. Also, for everyone that's listening on an audio platform, whether it be Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple, wherever you're hearing it, we appreciate the follows, we appreciate the subscription, the downloads, all of that stuff. So you guys have been wonderful, fantastic, and I'll continue to try to deliver great content. Now, back to this. So, long story short, a while back, while I was early in the Views from the East podcast situation, me and my wife always had like great conversations in our regular lives. And I said, hey, babe, why don't we start our own podcast, something separate from Views from the East? Because I know we can be very toxic. And, you know, she's just not that type of person. So I said, let's do something separate that's appropriate for you, especially for what you do for a living. And because she's a teacher, so she can't be involved in inappropriate things, right? Just want to be transparent with you guys. So I thought it would be great if we can do it. You know, we've been married, 7 years, together for 11 years. And basically the podcast was going to revolve around giving relationship advice. So we did that, and we actually did an episode. We got dressed. It was real nice. And, so we shot it. We even made our own logo. We have our own theme song, all that good stuff. So now what happened is, because of her tight schedule, my tight schedule, and I was doing Views from the East, it just didn't pan out the way that we wanted it to. We could never really find the time to do it. And now, especially since she is pregnant with our second child, she definitely doesn't have the time. So we've been sitting on this one episode, and I didn't want it to go to waste. It's a beautiful episode, beautiful conversation between me and my wife, and I think you guys will be able to relate to that. So enough of me running my gums. Without further ado, I give you Cupid's Court. Actually, whoa. Sorry. Before we do that, just to let you guys know, I did blur out the episode, so you'll see us, but you can't see us. That's because something private was recorded, and I didn't notice it when we were recording. So, obviously I don't want that to be public information, what was in the background, in the area, wherever. So that's why the episode is blurred. But now, for real, let's get to it. The name of the podcast was going to be Cupid's Court. So here it is.
Welcome everyone to our very first episode of Cupid's Court. I am Lady L.
And I'm Sir J. And just to let you guys know, what we do on this podcast is we basically give our take, feedback, opinions, whatever you want to call it, on different relationship topics. Whether you're a boyfriend, girlfriend, whether you're a husband or wife, we talk about it all. And here we try to help you guys make the right decision in whatever specific situation we're discussing at the time. So just to give you guys a little bit of a background on us, we've been together going on 11 years this November, and we're going to be married for 7 in August. So super excited about that. And we're not the perfect ideal couple. We're not here to sell you on, hey, we're perfect and we're going to tell you what to do because we know what's best. We've been through our ups and downs, and we feel that, and I feel that we've learned enough, and not just from our relationship. I'm pretty sure you've learned from past relationships, and so have I. but just we really feel that we can provide that feedback based on experience, so we're not here to sell you the perfect dream, and we have all the best ideas, but we do have experience, and we want to share that experience with you.
Absolutely.
So why don't you take us into what we'll be discussing today?
Today we're gonna discuss one of just a topic that it's been brought up quite several times in terms of relationship. The idea of you have to is it best to split things 50-50 in a relationship, in terms of bills, or in terms of just any expenses. Does the 50-50 rule really apply and creates the perfect environment, balance environment for a relationship?
Okay. I think I'll, ladies first. I think I'll let you take a crack at it.
I would say, and as I grew older, my opinion on this topic changed a lot. I think my younger self would have said absolutely. I think it's the best idea to split things 50-50, and just because we are equal in everything that we do, and that's just the best way to go about it. That's my younger self. As I grew older, and I think I could say I'm a bit wiser in terms of things, I would say I don't really truly believe the idea of a relationship ever being 50-50. I don't think that's something that is attainable. I think there's always going to be someone that is doing more. There's always going to be, in terms of finance, someone that is making more money, that's able to kind of pursue more, do more. So I don't believe the idea of splitting things 50-50 works realistically in a committed relationship, because I don't think you can actually split things 50-50 down the line.
Okay. Before I give my take, one thing I want to let the viewers know, this is something you guys are kind of going to love, and I feel you might love this. Although she is my wife, doesn't mean that I agree with everything she says, right? And I tell people a lot of times that, opposites do attract. Just because you're with someone doesn't mean you have to necessarily agree with everything that they say, right? It may get you into trouble sometimes, sure. But I feel it's, important to give your honest feedback to your partner. And I say all of that because I want to address you on, you said when you was younger, you believed in 50-50, and in terms of bill paying, in terms of splitting the bills. So whether it's house bills, whether it's a restaurant bill, whether it's all of that, you believed in it once you were younger, but as you're older, you no longer believe in it because one person is always going to do more. But are we talking in the context of just paying bills, or because splitting 50-50 to me, salary, if I understood you correctly, salary for me, it doesn't matter. If one person is making 30,000 and the other person is making 100,000, if you're splitting the bills 50-50, it's 50-50. I don't think your salary determines it. It might be a harder job to do for the person that's making 30,000. If you're splitting all the bills 50-50, obviously the person making 100,000 pockets a little bit more. But for me personally, the 50-50, and my take might be a little different, right? Because if you're boyfriend and girlfriend, it depends. If you don't live together, so my thing is in the context of you live together, right? Whether you're boyfriend or girlfriend, husband or wife, you should split 50-50. I'm not talking about going out on a date and restaurants, and the guy has to take care of that. So that's not what I'm saying. If I take my wife out, I pull out my card. She doesn't even bring her wallet into the restaurant. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is in terms of your light bill, your gas bill, your cable bill, your mortgage, your rent, your cell phone bills, these kind of things, I believe that should be split 50-50 all the way down. Or if it's not going to be that, then like you said, if there's a top earner and the that top earner can be in charge of taking lead and paying all the bills, while the other person takes that money and just puts it into the savings account, right? So that way it's like, okay, yes, I'm paying all the bills and that's taking majority of my earnings, if not all of it. However, my partner, all of their money just goes into the savings account. So either way, in a situation, you kind of win, if that makes sense.
I'm thinking along the line more of, I think for me, as the younger self me, I just thought, okay, I'm a woman, and I love the idea of being equal to my mate. Like, I love the idea of, like, well, I am your equal. But as I got older, I think realistically there's no way that we can really say that you can be equal. You can equally assess things in relationship. And I think to draw a line and say, okay, well, it's a gray line for me, just because there's still a pay gap in between men and women, right? And you gotta take that into consideration, right? Now, if the woman is also the top earner, necessarily you have to take that into consideration as well. If she is the top earner, does that mean that you also, your 50% is not her 50%, right?
What do you mean? Like if we have a cable bill that's $300 and I say I'll pay $150, is that not 50-50?
It is 50-50, but
No.
then I'm thinking more along the line that not say, okay, let's think in terms of money, right? If my check every 2 weeks is about, I don't know, $2,000, and your check every 2 weeks is double that, right? You're getting $4,000, close to $5,000 every 2 weeks. You splitting a bill on $150 is not, that impact that it has on you financially is not the same that it would have for someone that is earning less than you. Does that make sense in a way?
No,
So
absolutely.
I think if we're thinking along the line of splitting things in that manner, then it matters. It matters like what type of earning are we talking about in terms of like men and women. And I also believe they're just, if we splitting things 50-50, are we also chores become 50-50 as well? Because,
so are you speaking financially, or are you speaking house chores? Are you speaking
the whole 9 years
commitment to the relationship? Okay, so then I have to revamp it, because I was in a financial thing, because we said bills and stuff. So okay, so on the bill standpoint, it doesn't, for me, again, it doesn't really matter on what you make. If you guys move in together and you say, hey, let's get an apartment, we'll split it down the middle, I don't think it matters if you make $100,000 and I make 50. If we have that agreement going in, like, hey, we're gonna pay half the rent, I'm not gonna say, there is some couples that do have the conversation where it's like, hey, well, you make more, so why don't you pay 70% of the rent and I'll pay 30% of the rent, and then take care of the utilities. You can make whatever arrangements you want to do. I think what's most important is that, you're working together as a team. I think if you go into it like individual, where it's like, okay, I'm only going to pay this and pay that and pay that, again, a conversation just has to be had. Again, I think a 50-50 is great. If the person is earning significantly more than the other, then that's they would have that awareness to say, you know what, I make way more than you, so splitting, what's New York's rent, $4,000 for something basic. Not that I would do it, but let's say you have $4,000 in rent. $2,000 to you might be nothing, but that $2,000 to that person might be one of their entire checks.
Right.
So I think that conversation happens first.
Right.
And I think I don't think anyone just goes in but I think that the entry to that conversation is 50-50. Like, hey, we move in together, we split everything. If I'm a higher earner, then I may say, hey, you know what? I earn a little bit more. I'll do this, but you take care of this, and that, and that, and that. Right? So it doesn't necessarily always have to be 50-50. It can be 70-30. It can be 60-40. It can be 90-10.
Right. Ultimately, yes, I do agree that ultimately it whatever arrangement that is settled upon is based on the circumstances behind the couple or the two people that are committed, right? I just, because when that topic comes up, I just always think, like, how do you realistically do this? And if we're talking everything is split down in the middle, how do you realistically split everything in the middle? It's
make a list. I mean, if in your terms, if we're talking about everything in general, not just bills, we're talking about chores, we're talking about I don't know, just everything in general split down the table. Okay, you know, you cook, I do the dishes. You clean the house, I throw out the trash. I take care of the car mechanic stuff. You know, I don't know, do the garden in the back. Like there has to be.
How do you outweigh certain things over the other?
What do you mean, in order to identify as 50-50?
Right, like,
well,
like,
I mean,
if we want to be literal, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, someone might say cooking is in itself a chore that is way higher in terms of
than someone taking out the trash,
someone doing the dishes, or someone just taking the dishes and putting it in the dishwasher.
Not everyone has a dishwasher.
Right. No, I'm just saying in terms of like, in terms of that, like, there's just like, how do you really put like, I mean, it's give and go on certain things to say this is the value of this, right? Because like, if I do the laundry, some people absolutely hate to fold, right?
Mm-hmm. That's me. I hate to fold.
So like, I
don't like it.
So like somebody that might say, okay, I'm gonna do the laundry, you fold, and if you hate folding, that task is just the task that you wouldn't want to get stuck with every single time. So I think it just depends on the couple in general, like having a sit down and realizing, okay, like what works for you, what works for me, how can we meet in the middle. So realistically, I just think 50-50 never really works in a relationship. You might want to, but like realistically, somebody end up, because you it's kind of like a balance of just, okay, well, what if this person is, you know, you pick up on certain days certain tasks, and you know the other person do the same, and it just kind of works like this. I think of it of more of that symbol, that yin yang, is that the correct symbol? Where it's like the black and it's like, it's kind of split, but then you can see on the bottom there's like a bigger percentage of you know, it's just kind of like a really good mesh of things. So I just think of that, like that 50-50 thing. I don't think it really works ideally in any relationship.
So I'll address I'll use your laundry example. Technically, I wash and you fold. Splitting that seems like unnecessary. Like that, the laundry, washing it, drying it, and folding it is one task in itself. It's to me, that's how I look at it. It's fine if you look at it differently, because I'm not gonna say, you know, hey, I filled up the trash. I put the trash outside in a trash can, but can you put it out to the curb? It doesn't. You get what I'm saying? You're splitting a task that's within one task. So to me, it's like, you know, for me, that doesn't. So like, if you're gonna do the laundry, and also to address when you say it's, you know, if someone cooks, right, and then 50-50 to that is the equivalent is someone doing the dishes, right? And again, majority of people, I want to speak to the majority, right? Not everyone has a dishwasher, right? So yes,
no, absolutely.
So washing the dishes could be a tedious task, especially if it's a lot of plates, depending on the size of the family, depending on what's going on, the pots, the pans. And it's also too, that 50-50 split goes to the task that you feel more comfortable with doing. If your husband or your wife can't cook, they're not going to cook. So you can't fault them for not being able to do that task. However, if after you've spent an hour or so cooking that meal, and after you finish that meal, that person then goes and takes care of the plates, the pots, they wipe everything down clean. That's something that you don't have to do. It's a give and go. You do the laundry, but I go to the supermarket. If I go alone, technically that's a task you no longer have to do, because some couples have things that I don't want to do it, right? And I don't want to come off sexist or anything, but there's just jobs that guys do that a woman is not going to want to do. Just like it's again, a guy should want to, what's something specific women do a lot, right? Clean the house, right? Theoretically speaking, yes, a guy should want to do that. He should do that. However, if I'm taking care of other tasks, other things such as the market, the laundry, whatever it may be, it's a give and go. I think you're looking at it from like the size of the job, and that's fine. As a couple, yes, you can clean the house together, but I think you can work it out on a list of chores, because you're gonna have things that you want to do, and I'm gonna have things that I want to do. You're gonna have things that you're not willing to do, right? Like, are you gonna go out and pick up heavy loads of trash every night and put it out to the curb? I don't think that's something you would want to do, right? Just as a guy, I just see that. For me, I'm like, I'm not gonna let my woman go and manage trash. Like, if I'm not here, I'm at work and the trash has to be put out, that's different. But like me, I'm gonna take the initiative on that, if it makes sense.
No, I think we're agreeing on essentially the same thing, saying that like it's just never going to be ultimately 50-50, because there's just going to be, like you said, there's just going to be tasks that like one party is just either not willing to do or don't know how to do, right?
So you feel like for example, the cooking. I'll go back to the cooking and the dishes. You just feel like cooking outweighs, like it's more work than the dishes. So that's what you're weighing. You're not weighing it in terms of, okay, I do this, you do this. You're weighing it in,
absolutely,
I'm putting in this much work, and what you're doing isn't that much work.
Absolutely. I think there are tasks that are just outweigh others.
Okay, so if you're the cook and your husband can't cook, are you gonna, so how does your husband, how do I, right, weigh that out?
You can't. That's a playing field that you can't even be part of, because you don't know how to cook. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's like, if you know how to cook, then it's a different story. No, I'm just saying.
Just want to make it clear.
Just in general.
I don't do it, but I can if necessary.
No, just in general. Say someone doesn't know how to cook, right? Mm-hmm. And ultimately, one party is doing all the cooking.
But you never have to do dishes. Is that not like
you never have to do dishes, but at some point, for that person that's doing all the cooking, it's going to become a task that they feel like they're always doing, regardless. And we're not talking about, okay, they're making this, but they know
their partner can't cook. So is that something that they should just, I mean, if you go into a relationship and you know your partner can't cook at all, and you're the person that cooks, is that something you can later on and be like, well, it's not fair that I'm doing all the cooking?
I'm not saying to go in having that mentality, saying that it's not fair. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying ultimately, whether you like it or not, it should be acknowledged that this task is being performed by one party every single time. Right? So it's like
I'm looking at you. I just think I think where you're getting at is that, again, because you're saying that you're doing all the cooking, but if I'm doing the dishes all the time, couldn't I make the same argument?
You can make the same
but
argument.
You feel that cooking has more value. You feel like cooking is a bigger value. So even if I do the dishes, you're gonna look at like, well, that's nothing because I cook all the time.
Right. I feel like it would be like a bigger task.
So for the couples out there, let's give this synopsis. The wife, she can cook. The husband cannot.
Or vice versa.
What task can he?
The man can cook and the woman cannot.
What is the? How does that person do equivalent work? If the dishes isn't enough, what else is there after that? Is it doing the dishes and?
I think doing the dishes and cleaning the kitchen.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Would that mean equal to you?
That would be equal as long as like everything is scrubbed down.
Look, the way she's looking at me, I need to grab a notepad.
Counters are like spotless. Absolutely. Like I'm done cleaning. I'm done. I cook. I eat my food, and I am relaxing. I'm not worried about the stove. I'm not worried about anything pertaining to that kitchen.
Why are you smirking so hard?
No, I'm just saying that would be like the equivalent for me. That would be like equivalent, right? Like
no,
okay.
and I think it's good that they hear that too, because some people are like, okay, and to be honest, I do respect that opinion, because I think this is just human nature. Like even at work, you can see someone doing a job, but if it's like easier than the job you do, you're not going to put the same value on it, no matter what. Even if that's that person's job specifically, like, okay, this person is just a cashier. All they have to do is ring up customers. That's it. But me, I got a customer service. I got to ring up customers. I got to do this. I got to do that. Then you'll be like, well, this is all you do. It doesn't equate to what I do. So I understand your take. And it is important. Again, that's why I said, there has to be this, for me, makes it simple, a list of every chore that needs to be done in a household, whatever the case is. And you figure out from then and there, right at the beginning, what am I going to do? Okay, you're going to do this. You're going to do this. Because again, I may not, want to cook. I may not, I don't know. Cooking is not the right example. I don't know. I may not like doing the laundry at all. That's maybe not my thing. Me, I'm just like, but I'm really good at making sure the house is maintained repair wise. The car is good repair wise. I keep the house functioning in terms of that. Plumbing, all these things. I do that.
And that's what
you get what I'm saying?
And that's what I'm getting at with the idea of like things can never be 50-50 unless every single party that's within the relationship is able to do every single task.
So it's like I cook
like,
3 nights a week. You cook 3 nights a week, and then one night is takeout.
Yes, absolutely. Like you take out the trash, I take out the trash. You take care of the car, I take care of the car. But that's never realistically. That never
because
happens.
it's not your it's not your preference to do it. It's
I don't think
you're not going to really care to get inside of a car's engine.
But I don't think it's a matter of preference. Also, which that's what I'm getting at. Like I just think in a society where from the beginning we kind of predispose our children to certain things depending on their gender.
Yeah,
I don't think it's ever going to be an ideal situation where everyone is able to do every single task, because children are raised based on gender, and until we move from that idea, we never can really say, okay, now you're an adult, now it's okay, now you need to be able to do every single thing, right? Unless you have parents that are, and we're not talking about the cases where like, okay, you have parents or grandparents that are like, okay, you're a girl, but you still need to know how to manage your car, how to like go to get an oil,
that doesn't happen.
Oil change, know how to do certain things that are typically considered not tasks that a woman would do, or in the same fashion, typical tasks that you think a man wouldn't do, because as a society, that's how we bring up our children. So I think like when we get to adulthood, there's just really this great emphasis on like, okay, now we're gonna do everything 50-50, but we can't even agree upon the fact that women should get paid equally as men in the same field that they work on. Like this is still an issue for us, right? But we want in a relationship for it to happen without thinking of all these factors. So when I think of that, that's why I'm always like, okay, as a young person, I was like, yes, 50-50. But then when you factor in all these things, I think realistically a relationship is never going to be 50-50, because our society is has not conditioned us to be that way, right? There's always going to be tasks that are seen as a woman job, even though that that idea is outdated.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
though you know, there's always going to be tasks that are seen as a man task, right? Or like, and that's also outdated.
But does the woman enjoy or feel comfortable doing the man's task, and vice versa? That, because everything you're saying is right on the money, and I agree with that completely. But are you gonna go out there and fix the engine of the car? Are you going to do, like, is that something you're like, oh yeah, there are women, yes, you know, and you know, let's not make it seem like there's not women that can do it and men can't cook, right? We're not saying that. I'm just saying, if you dread doing the laundry,
Right.
you're not going to be, and the other person loves it, you're not going to wake up and be like, oh man, let me do the laundry so I can feel 50-50. What you might do is, okay, this person's doing the laundry, let me do this.
Yes, I think ultimately,
Because there's tasks that I feel like in a relationship, there's tasks that each partner does, the other one doesn't enjoy or doesn't see the excitement in. Not because they don't want to do it, but it's like, it's not the thing that they go to.
no.
You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely, that does happen. But I do think ultimately, right, even though like we cannot quantify or say, okay, this is how we're going to split everything 50-50. I think ultimately what needs to happen in a relationship is just being considerate of the other person.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's just the human factor of it. Like, okay, husband's been cooking for the past 3 days. Let me just attempt to give him a break, right? Husband's been doing the laundry. Let's attempt for me to step in that role and do the laundry. So then you're able to kind of understand what it requires of that person to constantly be doing that task, and you're more appreciative of it if you're
And that goes both ways.
No, absolutely.
What she's saying, it goes both ways, right? So if you do see that person doing that one, because that's the thing I feel like in a lot of relationships where it's like, because what you don't want to do is not, like, for example, when you kept on saying, you know, the cooking, you put more value in that than dishes, right? But when you say that, it's like you're diminishing what they bring or diminishing what they do. So to you, you may feel like that's like a small, minuscule task, you know, when they're doing the dishes and cleaning the kitchen, you know, whatever that looks like. We have to be very careful with that, right? Because that person is gonna, you know, anybody wouldn't take that as like, okay, sure. No, it's, you don't appreciate what I bring to the table, you know. So, and if it's not such a big deal, then why don't you do it? Because that's what's gonna happen in it's gonna drum up that argument. And it's like, if it's such a big deal, then you do it. If it's so easy.
No, absolutely. And I think that's why.
So I think we need to be very careful with how we're saying things and how we're translating, because to be honest, if I enjoy throwing out the trash, I'm never going to be like, why don't you throw out the trash? That's just me. If the car breaks down, if the garage door is broken, I take joy in getting that fixed. I'm not going to be like, well, you know, damn, you know, every time something breaks in the house, my wife never jumps to fix it. I don't think that, I get what you're saying. I'm probably just speaking from my thought of thing. I don't think I would jump and be like, oh man, like if I love doing the laundry and that's just something that I do, I'm not going to be like, now if you're just sitting there not doing nothing at all, then sure, I'd be like, all right, hey, you know, would you mind doing this because I'm doing this? But like if I feel like sometimes it's that it's unspoken. Sometimes you don't even need to talk about, like you know, I say a list of chores, right? But sometimes you don't even need that. You'll see where people naturally work. You'll see what they're naturally comfortable with.
That rhythm gets in.
Yeah, so I don't think realistically, for me at least, no one is really gonna be like, you know what, I like throwing out the trash, I enjoy doing it, but I want to see you do it. Like for me, it just doesn't. It doesn't function. I feel like if there's one person that's cooking, cleaning, trash, laundry, supermarket, and then the other person is just coming home and, you know, they're checking the mail and that's it, you know, yes, then it may come to you and go, oh man, like, no, you need to do a little bit more. but those are like sort of the two things for me. Like it's you don't want to diminish what the person does. However, because there's a way, and this all comes down to communication. Again, at the very beginning, you have this conversation, whether it's a list. If you feel the natural unspoken thing isn't working, like, damn, I shouldn't have to tell him to throw out the trash. I shouldn't have to tell him walk the dog. You get what I'm saying?
So ultimately, do you think relationships are 50-50?
I think it's possible. I for me, yes, because I don't weigh in what task is harder than the other. What I weigh in is, as long as you're contributing. I don't look at it as like contributing. Like, I look at it as the number of tasks we're doing. If I'm doing 10 things and you're doing 10 things, then great. Now, if the 10 things that you're doing are heavy loaded 10 things and the 10 things I'm doing is a breeze, yes, that is a problem. But if it's a fusion of both, I can't help that I like to fix the car. But again, I'm not going to go in my head and say, you know what, the car needs an oil change, and she never takes the car to get an oil change. Like, I'm not going to, like, that's not something that I would win and be like, yo, you need to do more, or you need to contribute. Like me, I just enjoy taking the car to get it fixed. So by the time, my wife gets to the car, there's gas in the tank. There's nothing wrong with the car. For me, that's how I go.
Absolutely. I just think I'm on the fence on, like, I don't know if because I'm being too analytic. I don't know if I'm just like a number person, and I'm just thinking 50-50. How can you realistically quantify, like, how
Tasks that I feel
weight?
that can be 50-50 is like cleaning the house, right? So it's like a sort of maybe that's something, because it's so big of a, depending on the square footage of your home, maybe that's where it is, right? Like, maybe you can split that. But I don't see like I wash and dry the clothes, but you fold it. To me, like, I mean, sure, you can do it if you even want to break it down to that level, sure. But if you know in your heart there's tasks that person do that you don't bother to jump in on, I don't think you should calculate it like that. That's all that I'm saying. Like, if you know she has these things that she does by herself, you never jump in, she doesn't ask you to jump in, I don't think it's fair for you to say, well, I'm doing the laundry, can you fold it because I washed and dried it. I think it has to be, and it's communication too. The minute it bothers you, you got to talk about it, because I feel the minute you don't talk about it and it swells up inside, that's where it's going to start coming up to the measuring of, oh, what I do is more important than what you do, right? That's something that you want to avoid at all times, because once it gets to that, and plus, if the person doesn't know, like, if you're not communicating and you're just I don't know, you mow the lawn every weekend. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but let's say you're constantly always the one mowing the lawn. If you notice the lawn needs to be mowed, no one takes initiative. Pardon our dog. No one takes the initiative. Coke, thank you. And no one takes the, okay, he's disrespectful, but I don't think it's you have to communicate. And if you don't communicate and you let all that stuff swell inside, by the time you're frustrated with everything, then the message gets lost, and it just becomes a scale of what I do compared to what do you do isn't even. Now, if that conversation does come up, that's fine, however it comes up. But from that point on, okay, what are you doing and what am I doing? That's why I say the list is like the best, because sometimes the unspoken rule, it can work out, or it can't, or it can turn into turmoil. Like I said, it could be frustrating someone because you guys don't speak, and you just, okay, she likes doing that, so okay, I'm gonna keep doing this. But deep down inside, she's like, jerk, pick up a plate and clean. If that doesn't happen, whatever the case is, then that's where the problem leads. Sometimes it works out where it's like, I can tell she likes doing that laundry. Look, she brings a book down there, she's happy, she's by herself. But
yeah,
but some people don't know how to read the room, and no one is perfect. Something could be oblivious to people and people don't know. But I think what ultimately solves all of that is communication.
Absolutely.
I do believe in 50-50. But if you're gonna weigh what something has in value, then it's gonna become a competing thing, right? So it's like, I cook and that brings more value than the dishes, but hey, after your belly is full, you just get to go and sit down on the couch and relax. After my belly is full, I'm cleaning. You get what I'm saying? Like, instead of just trying to look at it as that doesn't happen, think about it in that way. Like, think of the perks of that person doing it. When you're cooking, we're both hungry anyway. The only difference is, yes, you got to stand there, you got to cook while you're hungry, and you know, I'm just hanging out somewhere waiting for the food to be done. However, the roles become reversed. When your tummy is full, you can sit, relax, like I said, and then I'm in there. Even if I want to sit down, I want to go to sleep, and I have the itis, I'm doing dishes. You know, so
absolutely, I think that's a great way to think about it.
You know,
we should open it to
yeah. I mean,
like, what do you guys think? Do you guys think ultimately is it 50-50? It's something that it can realistically happen in a relationship, or does it become a little bit more detailed? Like, do you really have to really sit there and break things down, and ultimately it's never going to be 50-50.
So obviously, guys, this isn't a unanimous decision, right? So she believes it can't be 50-50. I believe it can be 50-50. So you guys have heard both of our takes. You know, feel free to weigh in. Let us know what you think. Feel free to message us, you know, give us your takes and things like that. And, you know, if you guys have any other questions about anything pertaining to relationships and what you should do, shouldn't do, you know, sort of like what we did today, we'd be more than happy to help you guys and sort of give you guys our opinions and, you know, hopefully guide you to the right decision. All right. Well, thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.